Well, good morning, everybody. On this, the 27th of June, the year is trundling past very quickly. We're back here on Friday Focus. Thank you for joining us. If you're here on YouTube and LinkedIn, we have live chat. So if you are watching and would like to make comment as we talk through this morning, please do leave a comment to us. We will try and include that in conversation as we work through this morning's conversation. So we are on YouTube, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Spotify, we're on Substack. The list is growing. Come and join us if you're listening live, obviously, and take part in the conversation. And if you're listening after this morning's session, please do leave a comment, and we will do everything we can to get back to you quickly. It's been a busy year. It's been an interesting year. We've covered a lot of ground here on Friday Focus, and the conversation about curriculum and curriculum design and what's in the curriculum continues and will continue with this idea that just subject silos creates this not fit for purpose. It's not right for everybody, but it's increasingly not right for more learners. And I want to speak positively into that space. I want people to be thinking around, what is best for our children? What is what we need for the future? So in that vein, the guests that I'm inviting are all different people that are around the globe that are thinking about curriculum, thinking about what's best for our children. And I'm happy to welcome to the stage my guest this morning, Rosina Dorelli from Da Vinci Life Skills Curriculum. And I'm sure you'll be interested with me to hear the story of that Rosina's got to tell and the impact that she has had. Rosina, welcome this morning. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Chris. It's lovely to be here. Nice early morning start.
Well, we have those. That's I mean, there will be people that are joining us live. There are people that will be watching us on the various social media channels later. I should have said, and I missed. If you want to search for us and you don't know our feed, look out for either Friday Focus, although there are various versions of that. But look for the Smart Curriculum Network, because that will get you to the historical feed and some of the conversations we've had. And Rosina, just your link to, or you were recommended by one of my previous guests, Mina Wood, said come and talk to you about some of the good things that you're doing. Just as we start, tell us your journey. Tell us your story about where you've got to this point and where sort of Da Vinci began.
Yeah, well, I've been on quite a long journey through it. I think I started as an actually furniture designer, crazily.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yes.
so my degree was in metalwork, and I started as a blacksmith making furniture, and then became a painter, and then I got into education about 25 years ago. I started doing arts weeks and teaching and doing after school clubs. And then I had teachers ask me, actually, can you come and teach art in primary, where my kids were, because they were all just like, we don't know how to teach art and creativity. And then I ended up working for Cornwall College. So I started doing a PGCE back years ago, and we would live down in Devon, and I found the PGCE to be particularly depressing. I've been doing a form of painting workshop, which was invented by this woman called Michelle Cassou, which is about expressing your creative flow. So it's getting in touch with your intuition and your creative flow. It's called Point Zero painting. And so I started teaching that and how to access creativity and with Cornwall College. And then I started doing that through loads of different schools, primary and secondary schools all around Cornwall, and then ended up doing that in retreats around the world. And that kind of got what's got me into education and seeing what the issues were, because I saw so much of creativity being shut down in education. And then I heard Ken Robinson, when he first did his his TED talk, and I'm just like, do schools kill creativity? And I'm like, yes. And I felt like it was a call to action, Ken Robinson's talk, and I just thought, you know what, I'm going to do whatever I can to help alleviate the issues that he brought up in that talk. And then I ended up in India. just I just happened to be living in India. I lived in Bangalore for a few years, and I ended up teaching in the state schools there and volunteering and bringing arts there. And while I was there, I actually visited the Green School in Bali. And I was just like, wow, this is a different way of doing things. And the kids were just so confident and happy. And even the kids in India too, just compared to the kids in the schools in England that I've been working in, they were just so excited to be learning, so excited to be coming to school. And there was no resources in the schools that I was working in. There were, no desks, no pencils. I was bringing in everything, not even paper. And, so in a really poor community. And I just was amazed at how happy they were to be in school and how excited they were to learn. And to see that and have that experience, I was just like, something's wrong in England in the schools, because I'd just seen so much depression and unhappiness. So I came back and I did the PGC again at Cambridge, because I just thought this is going to be interesting to see what I live now in Cambridge, and I live right next to Homerton, which is where they do the Cambridge Education Department. And I thought, I'm going to go and find out as much as I can about what research there has been. I'm going to ask every single person I meet. I'm going to go in and doing that. And I went in and spoke to teachers during that, and parents and students. So I basically had 3 years of working in local schools here, doing design, technology and art, and in state secondary, basically. And what was great about that was getting the opportunity to work in so many local schools around here, local state schools.
Yeah.
And I just did it in a kind of investigative way, and really thought, I'm going to find out what the issues are. And I got the opportunity to work in a school that had just lost its Ofsted, gone right down, dropped down to needs improvement. And it had a new head, and they were really trying to build it back up. And I thought, that's a great opportunity. So I went in, and they let me have this this shared it was a storeroom. And I went in at the end of the summer term, and we started building. I basically went around building sites and got given donated wood, and I went around local companies and I got lots of wood. We built a classroom basically, and I started out getting the students to help me. And then I went in the holidays and I built all the shelving and curved desks and all wooden desks, and made a really beautiful classroom for the students. I think the staff were all a bit surprised when they came back at the beginning of term, and the students were like, whoa, where's this classroom appeared from? But I just wanted to see if we could create, and it cost the school about, I think it was about £100. I did it all didn't charge for my time, and in varnish basically is what we paid for. And so it just shows kind of what is possible. And the kids were just like, wow, this is so cool. And then I was teaching DT in art, and what really just shocked me was the state of the mental health of a lot of the students. And I think that has been the thing that's shocked me the whole way through education. And I think what's driven me to do what I'm doing now is just seeing kids cut themselves and seeing kids on suicide watch, and you're just like, something's not okay. And so I basically, with all of that research and looking at this 100 years of in the university, there is so much evidence-backed research saying how we could be doing things and what works, and it's not actually in schools. Like Desi and Ryan stuff, and which talks about student autonomy and how they need to have some autonomy, which they just don't. And so I just thought, the system is just not ethical how it is right now. This desire to make everything fair and everything equal, and this government need for statistics has sort of driven And I get the idea that it's trying to be fair by having everything the same. Sounds good. It sounds like a really fair thing, right? Let's standardize it, make everything the same, have a one size fits all model. So then it's super fair. But when people aren't the same and people aren't coming to it with the same skills and abilities or background or experience, it's not fair. It's inherently.
Isn't it? I absolutely agree with you. And I think our conversations are because we share that we have a synergy in what we think. I mean, the similarities. I just listened to you. I take me back. There was no money. I built my DT workshop spaces. I went in and painted the walls and built the desks, and you just took me back to that time when that. But I'm really interested in that. You talked about that research. We know motivation theory tells us that the three things that change motivation are autonomy, mastery, and purpose. That's the Dan Pink material. We know that, yeah. And if all that we're doing is mastery and we forget autonomy and purpose, then that's where the mental health issues really get challenged. Because why am I doing this? What's this for? Why would I need this stuff? And then you talk about measurement. The idea that we'll measure it because it's easy. It's easy to measure the kind of retention. But it's not easy to measure innovation because innovation is creative. It's new. It's not been thought of before. So what would I measure? And I was thinking then, the Bill Lucas stuff on creativity in schools and creativity in leadership. Now I know there's lots more that you've been taught, but it's so resonant at this moment around why and what and how. But purpose and autonomy are so key. I know that's really a fascinating introduction, Rosina. I mean, your thought on that? That just reflecting on what you've said.
Well, I think that Gert Biester says that's at Cambridge. They give you the book on measurement in the education or something in the age of.
Yes, Andrew Fell will talk about that. I've just forgotten the name of the book. You just caught me there, but yes.
But that was just I read that and I was just like, oh my God, this is exactly it. He talks about how we're valuing what's easy to measure rather than valuing what's valuable. What's
valuable?
Valuable. We're not focusing on what's valuable, but we've just come down to a point of like the government needs statistics to show how well they're doing. And it's all about league tables and competition, and it's become a very kind of commoditized model, which has actually ended up unethical. And to what you were talking about with Mina, and Mina's amazing. She's on our advisory board, and she's she was working as an Ofsted inspector. She's just like, this is just not okay what they're actually looking at. I mean, league tables is a shocking way to judge schools, and the way Ofsted is saying this, you need improvement. I mean, you know how many people are working so hard in a school and to just come in and go, oh, a little stamp. And that's what we do to kids too. Oh, fail or 4 or whatever that stamp on your work might be. There's a grade. And I've watched kids get that grade and I've seen them deflate and being given a grade and just go, oh, okay, I might as well give up. And it's not, and that's the other research too, William and Black, the Inside the Black Box research, that's all about, how important formative assessment and feedback and constant reflection on one's work and feeding forward assessment. So assessment for learning rather than of learning. And we're so obsessed with this summative assessment that we wait to the end and then assess it all, and you either fail or you don't, or you pass. Whereas, and kids from a GCSE have no idea, what did I do wrong? I don't know what I got right. There's no learning in that. That's just a condemnation. It's like going to court and having, are you going to prison or not? It's kind of like people are deciding for you your future, and the stakes are so high, and it's not fair to put that pressure on kids when the system is rigged, and it's, as Mina was saying, that it's designed so a third fail. That to me is a shocking thing to do, and I don't think in the whole of human history where we have rites of passage to get young adults through into adulthood, there's this kind of teenage rite of passage, and that's happened right the way through the evolution of our species. And right now, in all the indigenous cultures that still have that kind of community, they help everyone get through to adulthood. There's no, oh, you guys have just failed. It doesn't exist. It's just like, that's how can you let people go into adulthood saying, yeah, sorry, you've just failed? How can we have a system that automatically fails a third of students? That's so many people. Sorry, that
No, Rosina, you're right. And there's so many things. I mean, we've got to say that there is a place for mastery. There is, because it is all of those things. And, and people, reactions will people say, yeah, but you're concentrating on those other bits and we need this. Well, yes, we do. We need to know stuff. But we need to have the reason to know. We know because there's purpose behind it. It's not just knowledge for knowledge's sake. It's knowledge because it then empowers us to do the things that we're aiming to do. And I'm old enough in the system to remember the introduction of GCSE programs, and I think a lot of teachers now don't know that GCSEs were created as criterion assessment tests, meaning that if it were possible, every child could have got an A grade if they achieved that. Now, exactly as you've just said, the system is now norm referenced, where the spread of grades means that 30% will always get the lowest grades. That's the immorality for me. That's not a comparative. Just because you've done brilliantly, they don't want the measure to show that more children get the higher grades. I mean, that's the inequity of this problem, that norm referencing is flawed in its basic construction. That's.
But also,
how do you feel about that, Rosina?
GCSEs were designed, I mean, I think that was a brilliant design because it was a reaction to this kind of idea that everything is judged on this just 2-hour exam. And yes, what Ken Baker did was bring in, I was the first year that did GCSEs. And
right, okay, yes.
Ages
before you,
but it was amazing. I went into those exams knowing that I'd already done half of it. It was all coursework. We did loads of coursework, and I was able to put forward my best essays in English and in all the different subjects. We could put forward our best work over the 2 years.
Yep.
And so we went into the exams knowing that we'd already done really well, or that we'd already, what kind of level we were at. And there wasn't the pressure that you had to get all A's back then. It wasn't somehow, I don't know what's changed. I think it's maybe the league table thing, but
the league tables came in around the turn of the century, so just after the turn of the century, and that's changed the climate. 25 years of that.
Yeah, I think that's the bit for me, because I remember talking to teachers too when I was going around teaching in all those local state schools, and they were all saying we used to talk to all the other teachers in other schools. And we used to collaborate, like all the DT departments would all collaborate and everyone would share resources. But since league tables, they don't. Now it's competitive. And now it's much more like, no, we've got to focus in on and be the best. And I think we've done that to teachers, and we've done that to schools, and we've done that to kids. And it's not that it's wrong. And I get that why we've done it, in the sense of, of course we want people to do well and attain well and be clever. And we want to raise standards and all of that. But I think what we're missing is that there's a wide range of different types of intelligences and skills and abilities. And in a good society, in a really functioning, well-functioning society, you've got people that are creative, you've got people that are great with their hands, you've got people that are super empathetic and kind, you have people that are really clever. And as Ken Robinson says, we've designed a system that gets you into, it's all about being a university professor. It's a protracted university entrance, and it's all about being, designed to be who's the person that wins in this. It's a university professor, and it's like, and I think it used to all be about money, like, that you can get the best jobs and the best well-paid jobs. But right now, a plumber can earn more than a history professor. And so it doesn't relate to money anymore. So what are we doing? Why history professors are great, and professors and academics, it's a great job, but it's not the only job. And it's not the only thing of value to be able to remember facts and to be able to sift through and think critically through knowledge. this is a useful skill, but there are hundreds of other useful skills. We need people to cut our hair, to cook our food, to grow our food, to, to build furniture, to do, there's so many different jobs, that people making films, making music. We need to, and I know that we have all these subjects, and so much of the system is amazing. It really is amazing what we've created. And the more that we're designing, it's interesting, because I haven't even said what we're doing, but we're basically trying to design a new curriculum and a new pedagogy for the future, and thinking what would future education look like if we could redesign it. And actually going through this process, so much of it we would keep. I mean, I just think it's interesting to me just how much of it is actually right. I think it's great to have specialist people that love, in secondary, have people that love their subject, that want to teach it and know lots about it and share that information. School is great to get whole bunches of different individuals from different families together in one place in your local community, have loads of amazing facilities that they can and be introduced and exposed to so much knowledge and skills and activities that they would never get at home. And I think that's brilliant. And so I'm not bashing that side of the system. I think that is amazing, and that we've built something that is really beautiful. I just think it's just gone down a slightly wrong path, and we just need to reel it back. and
what you're describing, Rosina, okay, it's easy, we've been around the system for a while, and it's easy to look back and say, well, it was this, it's now this. But exactly as you just said, it's that, where is this going? And all the signs that you referred to it earlier around children's mental health, the concerns that raise. I just as you were saying it, thinking that you're right. We bring all these families together into this building. It's a replica of what's in the community, and broadly the communities survive and exist well and homogeneously, and they're peaceful places, mostly, not everyone, but they most are, and schools reflect that. Why is behavior so much top of the list of things that are going on in schools? Quite often it's because, exactly as we're saying, we're pushing children into a particular way, and it's their place, in break times and lunch times or whatever, to kind of vent that frustration. I am something more. I could do differently, and then just that whole area. You're touching a really important point that speaks to so many people. I'm just conscious of time, Rosina. Let's just talk of Da Vinci Life Skills. You've traveled the world. You've seen lots of different systems. You've talked about. I think you told me about Bermuda and Bali and so on. So tell us a little bit about that journey and why what you've created in essence.
Yeah, so we kind of looked at. So I met with a few different people, and I formed a company with Zach, who I met in Bali. And he's an English teacher. He worked at Green School, and he has a whole kind of vision for teaching the curriculum through role play games. And it's amazing whole vision that he has of and then Farhan, who has worked with Learn Life and who is busy trying to set up a school in London. And so we worked together and we created a new pedagogy. We realized that to actually change it, we're like, how are we going to improve the system? What is it that we need to do? We kind of went back to the drawing board like you do in DT. It's like, okay, go back to the beginning. What do we need to do? What's this design brief? How do we want to educate the young of our species, if you know what I mean? You go right back to the beginning with the design brief. And what are the design criteria? And it's about, we want people to flourish. And I was teaching the biophilic design, and how biophilic design is this kind of future of cities, and it's a vision for the future where we create spaces where people can thrive. What is our natural habitat? What do we actually need in spaces, rather than just being able to survive in a room? And actually what the research that's been done has shown that we need daylight, we need to see the weather, we like organic structures, we like patinas that are natural, so like metals and woods and things that, and we like to be able to see plants and slight movement. We like to hear water. There's all these things that as a species, we thrive in environments like this. And they've done the research to show that in hospitals, if you design them in a biophilic way, the people get healed faster. They've looked at workplaces, there's less absenteeism, the health is better. And I'm like, biophilic sounds a really good idea for an education system. How about if, rather than just surviving it, we thrive and that young people could thrive? So we thought about a pedagogy for the future could be a biophilic pedagogy where it's more sustainable, it's more ethical, and it's more inclusive. So how could we make education more of each of those three things? So everything we've done, we kind of hold to that standard. Is it more inclusive? Is it more ethical? Is it more sustainable? And then through that, we created a new curriculum, and it's a project-based curriculum, and it expanded out from design technology. And I feel like design technology is a really interesting and slightly lost subject in school. It's the most expensive department in school, and yet it seems to have the least value as a GCSE or as a qualification. I mean, I've spoken to people at the engineering department at Cambridge Uni, and they're like, you don't need to do DT to get to do engineering. And I'm like, why not? Surely creative thinking and building and skills should be part of engineering. And then it doesn't really. It's just a bit of woodwork, and you just do. And that, and I know that the tutors at Cambridge are trying, in terms of the PGC, are really trying to change that, and OCR are trying to change that. But I wonder whether we're just maybe thinking about it wrong, and that DT could be the heart of the school. It could be the heart of applied learning. It could be the place where the academic learning comes to life. And we could have a different criteria of judgment for those skills that are learned in it. And it touches every subject. I mean, there's maths and there's English and there's science and geography and history. There's everything, and art within design and technology. Design and technology is literally everything around us. Yeah. And it's our way of taking that knowledge and applying it and building and designing and creating the world around us. And so, and then you've got food technology, which is really like essential to, and I'm looking at the national curriculum, because we've mapped the whole of the national curriculum. We kind of put the primary already has codes, but we coded the whole of secondary. And what we built within our curriculum is a project-based learning curriculum that basically embeds we're not every single learning objective, but certainly we've done pretty much all of Key Stage 3, some of the history. We've tried to make a more global, open curriculum. So some of the history, which is very focused in on British history and the war and stuff, we've tried to look at ancient civilizations a bit more and global history. But essentially, we're covering all the same content that goes into the normal lessons, but we're doing it in an applied and project-based way where it's much more real, and they're actually producing something at the end with that knowledge. Because also research shows that you learn better when you use the whole of your body and all of your senses.
Yeah.
And so this is, and I think that knowledge is much more embedded when you do so, when you use it practically, and you can use it in different ways. Yeah. So we called the curriculum Da Vinci Life Skills, because, well, partly because I just loved Leonardo da Vinci. I loved that kind of Renaissance time where to learn you became an apprentice and you worked with a master, and that kind of Vygotsky thing where it's like the zone of proximal development where you're not being tested what you can do alone in an exam room. You're actually being tested by working with masters, and the apprenticeship model, I think, works really well for skills. And so it's what you can do with people that have more mastery than you. It's what you can do within a group, and it's what you can do when other people are helping you that takes you to the next level. Yeah. And so, and I love the fact that Leonardo didn't see the difference between science and art. He just loved the world. He was just insatiably curious and just wanted to know about everything. And that's what most kids have. Like, that's the majority of children are just curious about the world. And to knock that out of them is actually quite impressive. To have them, I don't want to go to school, it's so boring or whatever. It's just like, how have we done this? These kids are just naturally curious. They want to learn. So let's kind of draw on that. And you find, I know you must know in DT, they love DT, so many kids, or food or cooking, because it's actually applying the learning, applying the science.
It is, and it's, that natural curiosity. I mean, how many parents have gone through that stage of, oh, it's the why, why this, why that, why that? Because that's how we are made. We're built to question. We're built to explore, and I just looking at so many of the systems around the world, which I love that the idea of schools being healthy places, that what some schools are doing, the Scandinavians with Uda School, they take the children away from the building, that these Victorian boxes have become the kind of the soul of the English, the European system, where actually other systems are, like you said, the children in Bali in the Green School, they're enthusiastic to be there. They want to get involved. Why? Because it doesn't look like the kind of schooling that we've seen, and it's not that what we have is the best that it can be. There are so many things that it could be. Can I just pause for a second, if I may, Rosina, and just do the. So, guys, if you're listening, it's a quiet morning. I know where we are in the term, so if you're going to catch up on this later, please do leave a comment and like, share, and subscribe. So we're on the various different channels. If you're on LinkedIn or you're on YouTube this morning and you want to just leave a comment or share a thought on the topics that we're discussing, please do so. They will bring them onto the screen if you are around. I realise where we are in the term, and I know it's a pressure to get things done. I've been on with school leaders already this morning, and they're commenting on how busy it is at this stage of the year. So we know that. But please do like, share, and subscribe. Share the material. If just thinking about some of the things that Rosina is saying, the Smart Curriculum Friday Focus newsletter has gone out. It goes out every week. And in fact, this week, my topic was designing technology in schools and how we need to get away from this. We can't do it if we haven't got the teachers. This is about creativity, and we need to get this into the school. So please find it on LinkedIn and get involved in the conversation. Rosina, just do you want to share some of your material so that we can see it?
You could show slide 15 if you like. That shows the 5 pathways that I
will do what I can to I'm going to need to put it on the stage. There we go. Let's see if I can find slide 15.
Maybe that's a different one I've given you. So maybe let me just find that one second. I've given you that one. This would be for you. I apologize.
That's okay.
Slide 11.
Slide 11. Here we go. That one.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to make it a little larger and just talk to it, and just so that people can see it on the screen. We do need to describe it, obviously, because some people are listening rather than watching.
Okay. Well, I mean, you can go to slide 10, because this is what I was just talking about. If you go to the slide before it, so this is this idea of having applied learning at the heart of school. So the idea that because what I also noticed when working in school, in state secondary particularly, is how departments don't tend to get together. There tends to be very little cross-curricular sort of engagement, and you could be learning about climate change in geography, and then you could be learning about it in DT, and then you could be doing a thing in English, but there's not a real sort of connection between all the different subjects about what everybody's teaching this term.
That's so important, Rosina. In curriculum design, I know, when I was in post, we spent lots of time trying to get people to work together and to map their curriculum together so that it made sense. We now know cognitive load theory is a big challenge to, all this stuff we're just putting on, children moving around the building, but so important to get this not only applied but correlating integrative curriculum. Sorry, I interrupted.
No, I just agree. And I think it would just be, I think maybe schools have got in a way too big. It's become more of like a corporation or some kind of massive company where people aren't, it's just too big for everybody to know each other and everybody to communicate with each other. But the idea of having the arts and games and all the applied learning at the heart of the school, and it's where we can get that engagement, because kids tend to love those subjects. And I mean, the amount of kids we had like coming in as, oh, can we do practical? Can we do practical? And annoyingly too, with now GCSE DT has even got 50% exam, and now they suddenly have to learn all of this theory. And I'm just like, why? Can't we just have some subjects which are just practical, where they can actually learn skills? So what we've created is a skills-based curriculum that doesn't see the difference between all the subjects. It blends, it's transdisciplinary, it can go anywhere between any of the subjects. And as I said, we've kind of mapped it to the national curriculum, so Key Stage 3 and Key Stage 4 particularly. And then if you go to the next slide, what we've created is 5 different pathways. So the idea is that within each of these pathways, we've been creating projects. So we've got 40 projects in total over sort of 8 years. The idea is that students do a couple of these projects each year alongside their traditional learning. So you can start that in a DT department, and we have a different criteria of judgment on it. So we're looking at skills rather than knowledge. And we've created a Da Vinci qualification, a DVQ, which is an in-house qualification at the moment. And I mean, it can be put forward as a project qualification to like an EPQ or an HPQ. But if you're teaching it at Key Stage 3, you don't really need to do that. It's only as you get to the very end, you might want to put it forward for external accreditation. But right now, we have created it so that it's assessed between the pupils and the teachers. So it's self-assessment, peer assessment, and teacher assessed. And
can I pause for a second? Yeah. We've had a question come in, and it's a really valid question, and I think we all do it. The question is, what is DT? Explain it. I'm from Germany. Now, can I just pause and just say, so within our national curriculum, we have 14 subject descriptions, of which design technology is, well, it's had an evolution over time. It used to be craft. It then turned to craft design technology, and then under the national curriculum in 1988, it became this design technology subject, which encompasses graphics, engineering, metalwork, woodwork, food, and some schools all sorts of other things. Now it's got CAD, computer manufacture, and a whole lot of other things. It includes electronics, it includes hydraulics, it includes all kinds of engineering activity. Sorry, Chippy.
Yeah, robotics and coding and also needlework. It literally, it's the craziest subject. It covers everything.
It's all of what we would call creatives, except for art, which has its own sort of media, photography, painting. So for the listener, that's design technology. But the idea of design technology is the stages of design, which is kind of defining a problem, doing all of the work to analyze it and work out what to do, and then to be creative and evaluate it. So those 4 stages would be design technology in its broad. That's I think partly trying to create this place where it was seen as intellectual as well, rather than just making stuff in workshops. But so that's an answer to your question. I hope that explains what design technology is. And then we have the EPQ, HPQ. These are higher project qualifications and extended project qualifications, which are in the English system. They don't appear anywhere else. In IB, they're international baccalaureate. They're dealt with slightly differently, but that's all about integrative learning rather than silos of learning. Sorry to interrupt her, Rosina. Just thought it's important. And any your comment, what your thought on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy subject. It's just got, that's what I mean. It's got everything. And not only that, they also then want you to learn all about materials. So you have to learn about manufacturing and the sourcing of wood and sourcing of plastic, the ecological footprint of materials. There's tons of like geography in that, and then the disposal of materials. So you're looking and then the sort of chemical properties and the manufacturing properties of different materials. It's an amazing subject because it's basically covering everything, because you're looking at the history too of the Industrial Revolution, and now going into the sort of digital the revolution, this next phase we're in. So it looks at the history of design as well. So yeah, what we've kind of done is, and I think what was interesting is, food I always felt was a bit separate from sort of the engineering side and the more civic design and product design. So what we did is separate out these into sort of 5 pathways. So we have our product design and engineering, the sort of STEM pathway, which brings in sort of the science and the sort of physics, maths, and all of that kind of side of the curriculum into projects. So we do things like we did a robotic arm one, and we also do business studies within it. So right now they're doing I have a little hub where we teach this, and we're trialing out all of the projects, and they're building their own company. So a social entrepreneurship relating to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So they're looking to build a company and they're doing pitch decks and, business side of it all, and financial plans and things like that. So they're learning loads, but so yeah, it's a whole range of stuff within our enterprise pathway. And then we have a food pathway, which is separate, and that does look at more at the biology and chemistry side. And so that's about cooking food, growing food, understanding about plants and what they need, and soil and nutrients, understanding what humans need in terms of a diet, looking at fermentation and preservation of food, looking at food transport and the ethics around food production, the future of farming. So there's a massive range, as well as catering and service and and the basic kind of chemistry and cultural side of cooking too. So
Rosina, I'm just conscious of time, and we have a. So how's this working with schools now? How are children getting into this activity?
So we are at the sort of pilot stage at the moment. So we've started we have a sort of professional development training program, which we've just launched this year. So we've been working on this the last few years. We've been working with lots of volunteers. We've won a couple of awards already with Cambridge University, which is great. We've had lots of volunteers, different teachers have been helping us to build this. So it's really trying to build it from the ground up with teachers, and we're actually teaching it too. So we've got a few pilot schools. We've got schools that in Bali, with one in Bermuda. We've got a few schools in the UK now that are starting to trial it this year. So we're in that kind of trial stage. Obviously don't want to put it into state schools fully before we've, tested it. And we've got a few early adopters. So we're at the early adopter kind of trial stage. And we've got a research team at Cambridge Uni that are looking at the efficacy of it all. And we're just working towards a point where we will have a subscription-based model. So we formed Da Vinci Life Skills CIC, which is a community interest company. So it's a non-profit. And we're just asking for donations from schools. So we have a kind of minimum donation, and depending on the size of your organization. So we can also help people set up home ed hubs, because there's a massive rise in home ed. And there's a lot of kids falling out. All the canaries are falling out of the system right now because they're not coping. There's a lot of kids not coping. And so we're trying to enable parents and home ed communities, if they want to. I mean, obviously some home ed parents don't want to to have any kind of education. I mean, or their own designed education. But for those that want to have a more applied style of education, we're helping them set up hubs. And so we want it to be affordable for everybody. So those that can afford to give us some money will then pay for those that can't afford it, is essentially what we're doing. And then we have a teacher training program with different levels to help people access this curriculum and know how to use it, and to understand this pedagogy of the kind of values shift towards some skills-based learning rather than this competitive drive to knowledge-based curriculum, essentially. So our assessment is around 70 skills. And so we help support teachers. We have a whole skills chart where the kids learn every day what these different skills are. We have skill sets like scientific skill set or a mathematical skill set, and it's much more a lateral view of skills. We also have a collaborative skill set and an interpersonal, so your ability to fail and get your resilience to get back up again, and your kindness and your empathy. So it's a non-competitive form of assessment, which is really about personal reflection. So we're teaching kids to be able to self-assess. That is supported by the teachers.
So that's more a kind of mastery style than a grading style. You know, I'm confident with this. I feel like I'm a developing, or I feel I'm the expert in the room because people come to it. That's the reflective style. Very, very Professor Bill Lucas creativity idea. That's exactly how he would measure, or at least he's presented that measurement. It's not graded, but it's self-reflective, and it's getting you moving to that mastery idea. I mean, some teachers and some educators will be familiar with that. I know there are some that will, you know, how do I report it? How do I measure it? How do I record it? Well, do you need to? Actually, what you want is that feedback in the room of, you know, my learners are feeling confident that this is they've embedded this. That's all we can ask for. Surely that's what we need.
They build portfolios. We evidence it, and same as DT, GCSE, and A level, and art, which is also, you know, this is something that already exists in the system, to produce a portfolio of work which evidences work through photographs and writing. And they still write academic. We do essays and stuff, but it all goes into the portfolio. And the students assess their work, and then the teacher comes in afterwards and agrees with their assessment or not. And the kids write their own report about what went well and even better if, and then the teacher comes in afterwards and writes, I think this went well and I think it could have been even better if, and it's just a report, and that becomes your Da Vinci qualification. And
doesn't that sound so reminiscent of, you know, you as an art teacher, a design technology teacher, you know, me, that's my hit. I mean, I remember those days of, you know, 60 project folders and portfolios in the room, and you would spend a day teasing through. Yes, we had to mark them, but you were giving feedback on a body of work, not just a single piece of work. It was that this is where you are. That portfolio, whether, you know, the technical award qualifications in the English system, that yes, it got a bad rap in the early turn of this century, but, you know, and that's why, you know, I still, when I work with school leaders, BTEC is a kind of a bad word, but actually they're brilliant qualifications that build all of this learning. So why do we denigrate them? Because that they have value in the place. So I just reminiscent of that. Yeah, Rosina, we're trundling through time. So look, I will say, I will put details of how to contact Rosina and the Da Vinci Life Skills company. I'll put that on the screen in a minute, and we'll tell you the details of how to get involved if you're interested. But just, I guess the things that we've talked about, I ask guests at this point in the show always, you know, if there was one thing that you could change, if there's one current thing that would really you see would really make a difference in the education system, what would you focus on? What would it be?
I don't know if I would focus on it, but the one thing I would change is to take education away from government. I would have it its own body. I would have it a cross-party body that is not run by politicians that are trying to get elected. and it has accountability, and the people that lead it are a cross section, like James Mannion talks about having a slice down, where you have some employers there, you have school leaders there, you have governors, parents, kids, you know, the dinner ladies and the cleaner, the maintenance. You have a slice of everybody within. All the stakeholders in that system need to be part of designing that system, and it needs to be long-term. A long-term decision, which not about getting votes. That's not about, oh, it's going to change, and just because I'm from a different party, I'm going to change everything the last party did. And I have actually no idea about education. I've just come in and now I'm the new education minister, and I'm just going to decide to do this because it worked for me. And you're like, well, on what basis? That is not okay. And there is no accountability for those actions that are being done. And I think that's pretty shocking system when you've got all of these kids' lives at stake. So I would take it out of, and the other thing too is that this idea of making it fairer, and I get why they've done it to add VAT and to get, you know, to put pressure on private schools and try and get everybody back into the state sector. But I think the one thing that is good about private system is that it allows innovation. And if you're not going to allow innovation and to trial different things within the state sector, and you're demanding that everyone does 8 GCSEs and you have such a strict control on what everyone does, that then makes it really hard to innovate and try new things. And I know that School 21 and an XP school that are trying project-based learning are really struggling because they're being judged by the same criteria of like, well, how many GCSE grades did they get? I was like, yeah, but that's not the criteria that we're looking at. That's not the criteria they're trying to change. They're trying to change the well-being and the confidence of these kids. And if we could change what we really want from education, do we want kids that are really stressed out and that get into university, or do we want confident learners that love learning and that will go on knowing how to learn and wanting to learn? And it doesn't really matter whether they can remember it all, because they don't need to, especially if you've got Google and a phone that tells you every bit of information. And you look at the stack of knowledge that they're being force-fed. It's more like bulimia, our current system. You force feed in a load of knowledge and then you throw it up onto a paper and you can forget about it the month later. We don't remember all of that knowledge. So what's the point in stressing kids out to do that? What you want to do is expose them to that knowledge. And so you've got a vague memory. Oh, I remember we did that thing on cells. Oh, that was actually quite interesting. And then I want to go find out more about that. And you want to, I think it's about exposure. And we just need to realize why we're in it and step back a bit. What are we doing here? Why are we doing this? And is it working? And let's remember that we want happy, healthy, confident kids that want to work and want to learn and want to join society, and not be told that, oh, we don't value you, you're a failure because you're not good at the criteria, that this narrow set of criteria. You know, as you and I probably know well in DT, you get those kids that haven't been academic and they're just like, oh, just really stupid, miss. And I'm like, no, that's not the case. Your skills are just not being valued within this system.
And that I mean, we've got to say that isn't every child, because there are some children who are that are really motivated by knowledge, but that we've seen that through the system. But the question is the system fit for purpose? Is it fit for all? And you don't model, you know, it's that famous picture of, you don't judge a group of animals by their ability to climb a tree, because the monkey will win and the fish will fail. But the fish is brilliant at swimming. So it's that idea, isn't it? I'm with you. I mean, I just, you know, again, you know, this idea of the political motivation, you know, there is some thought, you know, the Education Commission, the Times Education Commission, Sir Anthony Sheldon said exactly what you said. We need to get the political drive out, and in fact they suggested a structure where, you know, an independent body was responsible to the select committee to make that. And Mick Waters and Tim Brighouse said the same thing in their book about education. They were saying that the system is rigged against the children in a sense, And Ofsted is not completely independent government, which is supposed to be an independent body. But people, and Mina and others that have talked about this will have made it clear it's not. It is politically motivated by the motivations of His Majesty's Chief Inspector was Her Majesty's Chief Inspector. They had, exactly as you said, motives and thoughts and ideas that drove a whole load of things, including the frameworks. And I'd add to your list, School 21 and XP, and we forget very quickly the RSA Opening Minds Academies. That they in our systems terms failed because they didn't meet the national curriculum, but they were trying to do something completely different. So
the UTCs, Ken Baker is constantly trying to innovate. Still,
absolutely
he's still to he might not be everyone's favorite person, but I think he's really trying to innovate. And he supports design technology, and he supports applied learning, and he's tried to create university technical colleges that support different types of learning, which is amazing.
And now trying to get them exempt from the new schools bill so that the measurement systems don't apply to UTCs, or University Technology College. Now, those international people that are listening, you can bang your head and say, God, what's this complex system that we've created? Well, it is. I mean, the English system is probably the most complicated in the world. But I guess that, speaking from Germany, you'll be very aware of the different types of schools that have been created for exactly the reason that Rosina and I have been discussing, that children are different, and some need more creative, that they want that sort of technically engineering oriented approach, where others will be very happy with an academic approach. That's great, but we need a system that's fit for purpose and fits every child.
Can I just say one last thing?
Please do. Cool.
I just think, if you're not going to allow the state sector to innovate and have some choice and to meet the needs of all the people within it, you have to then allow parents to have their £8,000 as a voucher and say, you can then spend your £8,000 that we're paying towards the state education, and you can choose where you spend it, rather than putting VAT on private schools if they're the only people that are allowed to innovate and do things differently. I mean, I am saying that obviously we've just talked about some state schools that are really trying to, but it's really tough for them to make this difference, and they're having to pull out and do the 8 GCSEs completely. Whereas private schools like Latimer and King Alfred's and Bedales are able to say, okay, our students are going to do 2 to 4 GCSEs, and then they're going to do our own project-based learning courses.
Yes.
And if these big private schools are allowed to do that, surely they're allowing students to excel in lots of different ways. Parents should have that choice. I don't,
it's really. I was with a independent schools conference last week talking exactly this, and really interesting response from them, talking for afterwards. I find, in the same way that we've just described the state sector in England, where there are some that are trying to do some different things. I mean, the truth is the national curriculum is a description of knowledge, and you can deliver it in different ways, but it's the quality of how that's delivered that's being judged. But in the same way, in the independent sector, there are many that are just seeing education as the silos to exams. So it's geography, it's history, and there is never the twain shall meet. But because we need to train our teachers to think creatively, as Rosina has been encouraging us, and that's the kind of dimension of education that is being lost, I believe, in that process. Rosina, thank you so much for we haven't got to all the things that we were going to talk through. I will just maybe we'll come back and continue the conversation when some more people have let's talk a bit more about some of the application. I'm going to put on the screen. Can you, for the people that are listening?
Yes. So that's maybe that's the wrong email. But if you do, it's Rosina. If you go to the website, basically, I mean, that's for my little hub in Cambridge,
okay.
RB hub. But I mean, if you want to come Cambridge, or you want to come to our little school, but essentially it's davincilifeskills.com. if you go to davincilifeskills.com, you will find us, and you've got all of the information there, and that gives you the email for that, and it still comes to me either way, both those emails. Yep. And you can follow us on LinkedIn and Instagram at Biophilic Education Alliance, and and come join. And we are hopefully going to launch the curriculum next year. It's taking massive sort of funding. We're doing this. We're bootstrapping our way to, and as well as teaching and at the same time, and it's coming together. So yeah, come join us.
Absolutely. I'm sorry we've got to finish there, but we do have to finish at this time. Rosina, thank you so much for speaking this morning. So again, at Biophilic Education Alliance is your handle, and people will find you on LinkedIn and Twitter, or X. And
I don't know about X, but we were on X.
Okay. Certainly on LinkedIn. I know Smart Curriculum is the same. We're not on X, but we are on LinkedIn, and that's where most people are these days.
Yeah, we're on LinkedIn.
So please come and find us there, and please go and look for Rosina Dorelli. And then the website, www.davincilifeskills.com, all one word, davincilifeskills.com.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And I'm just going to do the last pieces, and thanks for being my guest today.
Thanks to anyone that was listening.
Stay online for a second. So guys, thank you for being with us this morning. Really appreciate your commentary, just being aware that there are people all over the world watching and listening to Friday Focus. We are very grateful for your involvement. Please do continue. Like, share, and subscribe. We are I just need to say, I'm trying to put some of these materials together in book form. So if you haven't yet seen the first in the series, The Efficient School, because lots of people say it's great, I could do this stuff, but can't afford it. Well, get involved in the conversation around making school efficient. So there are principles that I've described. That's the first point. If you want to get into this and you're saying, I haven't got the money, yes, of course, we can make that possible. But do get involved. We've got schools that are using the book and then applying the principles to their schools. That's the next book will be the Impactful Curriculum, and I'm hoping to include Rosina's work on the Da Vinci curriculum and many other examples of how this integrated idea of curriculum and the kind of postmodern school, that's where we are now, this kind of very focused on exams, is going. So please get involved. QR code there if you'd like to be, you're interested in the book. Please do like, share, and subscribe. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, and Substack and various other platforms are growing almost every week. So please do get involved in the conversation. Thank you for being with us today. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time.